Absolutely ready. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of our super prepared, researched, absolutely locked and loaded podcast, the Imaginary Movie Podcast. A podcast where two idiots in their 30s talk about shit movies from their childhood. Ooh, I've thrown the grenade. Shit, back away.
Terrible. How dare you? How dare you say that about my beloved movie? My name's Sam, and anyway, hi, my name's Sam. Men in Black Berlin. I can't wait to get into. Oh, cool. My name's Sam. Welcome to Men in Black, a classic 90s action comedy romp. Brilliant. Hey, my name's Sam. Welcome to this podcast where we talk about. Oh, here comes the Men in Black. Oh, what a great song that was. Hey, my name's Sam. How are we doing?
Oh, do you know what we're doing perfect? Doing the Bad Boys bit, maybe like in a... Oh, no. Again,
that's a different movie, Dave.
I know, that's the joke.
And one of my favourite things about this movie is the memory. I really want the memory wipe thing. Like, I just feel that's going to be a useful... You know, hey, Men in Black. I've seen that movie before, but I want to experience it again. Fantastic, you know? Like, oh... Here's someone that I supposedly met. Then I'll just and I've got to talk to. Oh, I have no idea who you are. Fantastic! Like, come on, sign me up.
I feel like you'd abuse it pretty quickly. I don't think you would pass the wife test either.
Well, that's a different set of accusations, Dave, that I don't appreciate, but probably support.
No, I mean,
generally.
Your wife wouldn't approve, Sam. That's the wife test,
Dave. How the hell is she going to know? Straight away. That's it. What are you talking about, Nebulizer?
That's a troubling domestic relationship you're proposing. We can make a film about that. Oh, is that okay? No, it's okay. Not okay.
It's okay. And
you're
last one.
Electronically roofing your wife every time she disagrees with you? Oh.
It's okay, Dave. It's okay. And for the last time, the audience and yourself... It's all gone.
Hi,
my name's
Sam. Welcome to this episode of the Imaginary Movie Podcast. My name's David. Hi, welcome to this episode of the Imaginary Movie Podcast. My name's David.
This is a great bet. Do you think I can shoehorn this into non-Men in Black episodes? I just feel like it's just got legs.
Certainly, let's make this a recurring bit, but don't warn me, right? It's really important that we just react organically to that, because obviously you've just wiped my memory. Hi, my name's David. Welcome to this episode of the Imaginary Movie Podcast.
Let's talk about this 1997 absolute classic of a science fiction comedy action movie. Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, Linda Fiorentino. I mean, Rip Torn. God damn, what's he doing in this? Shouting at stuff. And Vincent D'Onofrio, who is... Thank you. Who?
Have you really never heard that name said before?
No, I'm reading it fast. Who plays, I think, one of the greatest characters in like modern cinema. I fucking love this performance. I love these prosthetics. This movie I'm so here for.
It's a fun movie.
You, however, are a piece of shit, so tell me why you don't like this film.
I do like this film. I liked this film when I was a kid. I couldn't tell you when I first saw it, but I liked this film as a kid. It's a lot of fun. It's silly. It's kind of like that sort of gross sci-fi, which I think we sort of get in the 90s, and that gross action as well. Kind of like, you know, quite slimy, quite. You know, I mean, this is peak kids getting slimed up, adults getting slimed on kids' TV and all of that. So it kind of plays into all of that.
Get your own back.
CG in this movie, early CG. So it's quite. You know, I wouldn't quite say revolutionary, but I think it's reaching in terms of like the genre. Will Smith was a treasure, and now he's beating people up at award ceremonies.
Oh, God! Do you remember that? Do you remember that? That was like
yes, because it was like a year ago, Sam.
Yeah, but it feels like a different era. It feels like we're post Twitter now. Twitter's dead, and that just feels like the peak. That was the zenith of holy shit.
What Twitter?
Will Smith has done what? Like,
yeah.
God.
Anyway, I do like this movie. I liked it then. I liked it now. I think that it is generously. This is a really great example of a really trash genre. Like, does that make sense? Like, this is kind of like the top of a pretty bad bunch of movies. Not bad, but like you look at even Will Smith's early movies. I think that Bad Boys is a troubling movie. So that's also on the list. But Independence Day, I think, is better than this in terms of like a movie. I think this is great, diverting fun, but I think that it maybe lacks some of the substance that make a movie, or some of the emotional beats that make a movie really pop over and over and over again.
I'm going to give you a slightly more zany movie, but I think that's within the same realm of science fiction anyway. Mars Attacks from 1996. Have you ever seen that? Oh, no. We should do that for the podcast episode, because I think there is like a vibe, isn't there, in this mid to late 90s kind of, I'm not going to say the words that I'm going to say, but I'm going to say them anyway. It's like a pre 9/11. Let's explore the ways that we could get fucked over.
Sam mentioned 9/11.
Here we go. But I think it does hit on the Independence Day vibe as well, of like, it's America in the 90s. We have nothing to fear, and so we're going to invent things from space to fear. And it's like, if you look at the movies that come after, into the 2000s, it's very much about real things that are going to hurt us, and aliens are gone until maybe Marvel movies come back a little bit, but still, we're not getting into like the same level of weirdness that I think comes through in this movie.
Extraterrestrial sort of like thing was very hot in this era. You've got things like the X-Files on TV, obviously popularizing this. And from what I've read as well, just to bore the living shit out of the audience and you for a second, this was a comic book. We're not comic book guys, so we're going to acknowledge that and then fucking move on. But from what I understand, the comic book is very much in line of the Men in Black are kind of like Mulder and Scully. Like they're a bit more shadowy, but they go around, and every week it's like a paranormal thing. Whereas obviously this movie is like, there's aliens, that's fine. Also, the fucking worst part of the X-Files is when they're talking about aliens. But, it's the same sort of thing. So it's interesting to see that take of like, and we see this all the time, don't we? So let's make a movie about a popular thing now, this is the era of, this is reasonably early, but like comic book movies are starting to become a thing. We'd get, speaking of 9/11, we'd get that Spider-Man movie in 2001. Or 2002? You get the Spider-Man movie 2. And various other things, and the X-Men movies and stuff like that become, and obviously we've had Batman movies in the 90s as well. Anyway, you get comic book movies starting to be made, and then you've also got, let's just plug in a big star, a name, Tommy Lee Jones. People are going to come out to the cinema to watch a Tommy Lee Jones in a movie. He's a guy, right?
Yeah.
And then let's get the biggest TV star of the time, and this has happened. I mean, I didn't do my homework and look for other examples, but I'll tell you what, Malcolm in the Middle guy, Frankie Muniz, he was in loads of movies immediately after his enormous TV success, and it's just, again...
Yeah, well, that all went great for him, didn't it?
I don't know, he made loads of money, Sam. Hard to be that upset.
So,
but what I'm saying is, you then plug in one of the biggest stars from TV, and then suddenly everyone's going to see this movie because it's about a hot topic, starring a hot guy, and also another guy.
So Will Smith, let's talk about Will Smith then, because he is in 1995. We have Bad Boys, which is his probably first like main starring role.
Bad Boys and Independence Day are very close together. I think it's like a 2 to 3 year
Independence Day
period.
comes a year after in 96. Then we get Men in Black. Then we get Enemy of the State. Previous episode, maybe, I don't know. Or we should watch. That's a great movie. And then we get Wild Wild West. Oh no! Which he did instead of The Matrix.
Do you know what?
So,
I would go to bat for the Wild Wild West, not as a good movie, but like as a. You know how you love this movie, and I think this is a better movie actually than the Wild Wild West on almost every measurable level.
You think?
But the Wild Wild West is a fantastic pull forward. That is this movie.
Yes.
And do you know what? It kind of works for me. It's silly. It's like everything's pumped to 11, but yeah, it's much more like it's Will Smith, the movie star, and then he goes on to have this like amazing.
Before we move on, Wild Wild West, so of course, same director, Barry Sonnenfeld, also directed that as did Men in Black. So clearly, there's a vibe going on, wasn't there? And Will Smith, they're trying to recapture the magic, which I think we see in this movie, which is why it's a better film than Wild Wild West, which is just fucking crazy.
Well,
crazy movie.
I think any movie where you have characters who literally fought in the American Civil War, I think there's going to be problematic stuff, and it's going to be tough. Even John Carter, which we watched for the podcast a few months ago, like even that movie, which predominantly takes place on Mars, kind of struggles to get past the Civil War veteran of it all. I think it's a tough ask.
Is he wearing a grey uniform? Is he wearing... Oh, dear.
It's dark in there, but that grey uniform...
It's like grey. That's a grey uniform,
and that's
isn't it?
the trouble. And the same thing with Wild Wild West. Even when the Confederate soldiers are the baddies, like, it's a lot, okay? It's a lot to jump through. Like, yes, evil bug alien that wants to destroy the universe, fine. But people who actively fought to continue slavery...
Yeah.
Ooh, anyway,
no.
But Will Smith goes on, and he has his 90s career is kind of like it could have been. How many people have we seen who've had this flash in the pan, like huge TV star, couple of movies, wah, wah, Frankie Muniz, great example, like, and then they go away because they're not very good. And actually, I think Will Smith, aside from beating up Chris Rock at the Oscars, like, I think Will Smith has had some really fantastic performances and has matured. And I think this is the reason for his success, is his charisma and his like acting chops, which become more and more apparent as we watch more and more of his films. I mean, we've not done loads of Will Smith movies for the podcast. We did that depressing hospital...
The Pursuit of Happiness. Yes, the one about capitalism.
That was depressing, but it was a good dramatic performance from Smith. I think we touched on that. In the podcast.
When you go through his filmography, though, you do start to really see the cracks. I think he's got quite a lot of really, really good movies, but sometimes you're like, why did you do Hitch? Why? What
money?
Yeah, and it's like, obviously that was probably that was hugely successful. So, but then, it comes back to, okay, cool. I mean, all right, Hitch, but I Am Legend, pretty good. Like, that's a fun movie, isn't it? All the way through to the kind of later stuff. And so I just think, he is good. And you can't argue with the charisma, can you? And that's what I think he brings.
That's what made him a star. And The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which we've also done for the podcast.
Yes.
I think is like, and again, I know it's a movie podcast, but just to talk about Will Smith and TV in general for a minute, there's something about shitty TV, like sets and drama, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Sets that wobble when they close doors.
Exactly, but it has some of the most emotionally powerful scenes, like the bit where Carlton gets a gun or wants to get a gun, and it's like, that's just incredibly emotional and powerful. And when he, the bit obviously the daddy issue thing, but like the bits when he's like, why doesn't my dad want me? And again, and that sort of shows you the range of Will Smith in the early part of his career, when in actual fact that's a silly show where Will Smith plays himself more or less, and it's like, oh, Will Smith the rapper, and now he's in a TV show, and it's like, and if you can imagine going from there to he won an Oscar at that Oscar award last year for King Richard.
For Emancipation, I think it was, which is a bit of a shame, but no one's seen that movie because it was just all completely overshadowed. Let's talk about the co-star Tommy Lee Jones, because he's an interesting actor.
Is Tommy Lee Jones still alive?
This is unbelievable. He is only 77 years old.
Do you know, there's really something to be said.
I could have swore he was at least 58, probably like 62 in this movie. He looks so old, and he's only 77. So I can't do the maths that quickly live on air. But I tell you what, I think he carries it all the way through his entire career. Probably the films, like he's a big supporting actor, isn't he? There's not many starring.
No, he's kind of a guy though. Like he's a guy.
But The Fugitive.
But there's something to be said for Tommy Lee Jones. There's something to be said. And Gene Hackman had this as well. Of like, if you look 55 in your 30s, that's usually a sign that you're going to look 55 for like the next 45 years.
Yeah, and that's job security. That's
job
and
security. You could just play the same characters. He was I think he was around 50 or 51 when Men in Black came out. Sorry for the delayed maths, folks. I was trying to remember Gene Hackman's name. That's a bit of inside podcasting.
No,
for you.
don't worry about that. So he's Under Siege is another one that I think he's again that classic Men in Black. The Fugitive, I love him in The Fugitive, playing against Harrison Ford. And as you go through his career, he's still working now, and obviously he's only 77, despite our shock of that. But he does get top billing in this movie as well, which is, I think, probably sometimes you have to remember that this is like
it's a reflection of the fact that Tommy Lee Jones he's a that guy. It's that guy in movies, and like you said, he's like, and it's kind of one of the weird things with actors where the best supporting actors are kind of the worst leading men. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that if this was a Tommy Lee Jones movie, and it isn't, we can get into that, I think it's a worse movie. You know what I mean? Like, I think Tommy Lee Jones is one of the best supporting actors in the business, and like absolutely should and cannot and should not carry a movie.
Yeah. So
but he was a big name because he was a movie actor, whereas Will Smith at this time is still kind of like got that the kid from the rapper, the kid from that silly TV show.
Yeah, he's breaking through, isn't he? He's breaking through and really cementing his performance. Let's get into maybe some of the plot then, and like, I think this is such a tight script. It's so like we get the classic. The thing at the start is the same thing that happens at the end. We've got Kay, and as Tommy Lee Jones and Agent D, like this super old dude who's he's obviously over.
Oh, guess when he died? Richard Hamilton. Guess when he died? This movie was made in 1997. At which point he was 77 years old.
So he's the same age that Jones is now. So I'm gonna guess he died in 2002.
2004. You're good at this game. You always get pretty close.
Yes.
Like, it's a weird sort of like superpower. Is Sam's pretty good about guessing when old ass actors died.
People died. Yeah. Well, I like that game. We should play that with a buzzer. And maybe some.
So disrespectful, but this guy died 15 years ago. It's fine, and he was in his 80s. It's okay. It's fine. No one's really upset.
And no one's going to be listening to this when we
just generally,
yeah. And if you are, well done. You distracted me.
We were talking about how tight the plot was.
Yes, it is, and I think all the way through the movie, we basically there's not like loads that happens. It's a fairly kind of classic story of you got the old guy who's looking for his next protege, his next agent that he's going to train up, and I think we just get kind of just a bunch of set piece sequences that really just flow into themselves. But I think it works so well. Like, I really just think there is no downtime in this movie, and to evidence that, it's 98 minutes long, and fucking hell, like, even if you say let's say generously, let's say it's only 4 minutes of credits, we're still basically a 90-minute movie that manages to bring all of this great stuff, all of the acting, all the performances, all of the effects, all of the prosthetics together in a fucking tight, fun-ass movie. And I just think, like, they don't make action movies like this anymore that are top tier box level. Every single action movie is 9 hours long, and you have to have seen 12 others to understand what the fuck's going on. It
does feel like we are really past when a 90-minute movie is kind of like even permissible.
A summer blockbuster.
We're
watching
watching
90 minutes
like
long.
15 hours of Martin Scorsese wanking in front of the camera, like art.
Multiple
Do you know what I mean? Like,
angles. Not from
But
below.
that's kind of
Martin,
where we are
no.
with auteur directors. We've got Ridley Scott's Napoleon coming out actually to date us very shortly, and absolutely I'm going to see it because I'm a fucking loser. But also, it's going to be 4 hours long and probably boring for quite a lot of it. Do you know what I mean? It's Oppenheimer and
Oh God.
The Irishman's the big one we refer to as like a get the fuck out of here, Martin Scorsese, you old fucking white prick.
Yeah.
Like you're done.
It's done.
But there's something refreshing about a 90-minute movie that we got much more in the 80s and the 90s of like this. I think would be what I would call now like a summer blockbuster. I think it came out in the
It's
summer.
peak summer blockbuster. It is. Yep. Absolutely.
Like it's something that everyone's going to go and see at the cinema because it's like this is going to have wide appeal. Like families are going to go and see this. Teenagers are going to go and see this. Like men in their 20s are going to go and see this. You know, Seinfeld and his gang are going to go and see this, I presume, because they're always at the cinema.
Jerry.
You know, like, Jerry? The galaxy's on Orion's belt, Jerry!
We do need to improve our George impressions, but that's an aside.
I think the energy is wrong. I think there's a lot of energy in Jason's performance.
I don't know how. Again, we can workshop that. We can come back to it. So then we get like the James Edwards. What is it? James Darrell Edwards III.
Do you know what?
Jay.
If challenged at gunpoint, I could not have told you this guy's name, even after watching this film.
This movie is, despite the many nebulizer things, is still implanted in my brain, so it is still there. But him running around the Guggenheim Museum and it's these little hints. Obviously, we know there's aliens, but I love the sequencing of this because you're like, what the fuck's going on? This guy's, jumping around. He's super fast, the guy that he's chasing. And there's just like a, what is this? And then the reveal of the eyelids going that way. And then just, I remember being quite shocked with this as a kid, where he falls backwards off the Guggenheim. And there's this horrible, like, piercing scream. And he just, it explodes when he lands. Like this is quite a scary movie as well. This has got some like dark shit, which
There's
is
some horror stuff that's going on. Certainly, like
yes.
We mentioned off the top that it's quite a slimy, greasy, like disgusting movie. It's kind of like a eyeball soup kind of movie, to reference another previous episode, Temple of Doom. But it's unnerving in that horror movie way, and we talked about Vincent D'Onofrio as the baddie, as like one of the better baddies because he's not physically intimidating. He's just creepy, but like creepy in a way that they pull off very effectively in this movie. And the aliens again, like they're pretty disgusting to look at, and it's not Star Trek aliens where someone's got like, nose ridges is the big Star Trek thing. These are like just fucking slime blobs and nonsense and like tentacle creatures, like when Will Smith's getting thrown around with that alien's giving birth.
Oh god,
like,
I love that so much. I love that so much, and all of the slime guy in this movie is just working overtime. They have so much slime, it's everywhere. It's of different viscosities. And they are just bathing in it. And I just think it's a great example.
Slimed. The finale as well, especially, like, everyone's covered in slime. It's the real thing that they're going for in this movie. And it makes it silly. It makes it silly because, obviously, if this was, like, blood and gore, like, maybe 10 years later, you might have gotten, like, a really dark and grim and shit version of this movie with, like, beheadings and all of that. But this just, it makes it silly, but also kind of, like, disgusting. And it doesn't detract from the stakes. It just kind of makes it like you could watch this with a 10-year-old and it's fine. Like, it's okay.
It's not a horror movie, is it? It's still got that lightness to it, but it does that thing which great movies do, is that they edge right up to the line and then they pull it back, by not dwelling too long or not giving us the kill shot. They kind of have that just enough restraint, which I think is excellent. Let's talk about the bug. And D'Onofrio, and I love like the introduction of this character, where we've got this static shot of the house, where these two absolute loser hicks live, and then you just see in the top corner of the frame, it's just what is that? And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they just absolutely destroy this truck, like this huge fire. What the hell happened to my truck? Like he runs out, and then we get the horrible pull in, and I think, and I've said it already, like I think D'Onofrio is pulling off something physically and with his acting ability here that I just don't think we see stuff like this. Like this is just such a great performance.
It's a commitment to a physical performance. I was reading, and it's the trivia on IMDb. It's not like super reliable, but I was reading that essentially he's like wearing knee braces, so he can't really bend his legs.
Yeah.
And you can tell, and they sort of tape his face with like silk tape, so it's like pulled back at odd angles.
And they said that he's got quite good flabby, like he had quite a bit of flabby skin. His skin was quite stretchy, so and he was like, "Yeah, go for it, it's fine." So they would like pull his face around, and he could control it as well. He had
like somebody is wearing his skin, and I think it's a great practical effect. It's like
amazing.
It's good makeup effects, and these days it would all be done in fucking post in CG, and it would look like fucking shit. So it's kind of nice to see
like
in a movie that's got quite a lot of CG, but also quite a lot of practical puppets and things, because CG is in its infancy. They spent $450,000 on the CG bug for the last fight. So that's why they use practical effects, because
I think
CG
is $4.5 million. Is that right? Figure. Yeah. We can. Right. Let's come to that at the end. Because
what my point was that obviously CGI is in its infancy. There's a reason they didn't use loads and loads of CGI, but it forces them to rely on like traditional filmmaking and use of miniatures and puppets and like practical effects, which age really, really well. A CGI movie from 1990, from the late 90s, looks like shit today, whereas this mostly looks pretty good.
And there's some good transition. There's a good it's a good story of the transition, isn't it? Which again we can come to maybe at the end. But D'Onofrio, his performance, I think, runs throughout the movie, and especially when
he is in the whole movie. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Dave. But what I'm saying is that that threat is the anchor, isn't it, that goes throughout the film. Like just silly things where he walks in and says, "Water, sugar, more," and then just sits and just the water's dripping down him, and he's and it's like the whole thing is pitch perfect, and it's also really, really funny. And I think if they had made this as a super serious like summer blockbuster action, no comedy, I think this character would be out of place. But they're also playing it for laughs, like when his wife collapses.
The little things they do. It's the dungarees that the characters wear, that D'Onofrio is wearing. Like again, he doesn't get changed in the whole movie. It's the van. He's the pest control van. He's driving around with like the big.
The guy though with the pest control down his throat. Oh, that's horrible.
It's pretty grim. But like you said, there is humour here, and we get it throughout the movie. He's like sucking people dry, like skin sacks, empty skin sacks, and
the guy who folds over in the cafe. I mean, shit.
Like, he doesn't kill David Cross though, which I feel like's a mistake. It's a very annoying David Cross in this movie, and he doesn't murder him.
Yes. I think David Cross probably does deserve to die. He's like the morgue attendant, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Receptionist. Yeah, the morgue. That's right. Yeah, early David Cross.
And they also, just while we're on this, we're all over. That's fine. We're not doing this chronologically. I was really surprised there wasn't like a really overt "you having sex with these corpses" joke in that scene. I think it reflects the fact that they're trying to go for that family audience, because nowadays that's the joke, isn't it? The joke is, you slip me $100, you do whatever you want, I just don't want to hear about it, clean up after yourself. Like, there's a way of making that joke that's for all the dads, all those dads who are into necrophilia jokes. Like, there is a thing, it's all over fucking TV. They don't make that joke, and it's hard to know whether that's because like that sort of thing isn't really like mainstream enough in terms of the humour to be funny, in 1997, or maybe it's not mainstream enough for is it Sonnenfeld to like want to put it in his movie.
Yeah, maybe just not quite the tone that they're at. Because it is. It's. I mean, like it's coming out in July, so it's relying on kids, and it was probably a 12. I would
12A
guess
or whatever it
12A
is.
maybe if that was a, if that was a,
PG-13, I think they call it in America.
yeah. It's not. We're not pushing up a 15, nowhere near, but it's certainly gruesome enough, and some of the things we've already referenced in terms of like the skin and the guy being folded over is the worst one. That always freaked me out as a kid. The way he's just neatly tucked into the shelf, like. My son's seen this, and there was a few scenes where I was like, blah, 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 blah. Just gonna fast forward that bit because I just like this is a good film. It's really fun and cool, but also blah, 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 blah. I'm just gonna skip it.
Just forward that.
On Netflix. Thanks very much. Things that I don't think are as good though, or just like the whole plot basically of
stupid
the battle between the whatever the aliens are, and they're having a meeting, and the cat, and the intergalactic politics. Blah blah blah.
It may as well be the suitcase from Pulp Fiction, like
a MacGuffin. Yeah,
it's a MacGuffin, and but they kind of dwell too much on it. What's the galaxy for? Like, what is it? I get it's a MacGuffin. There's going to be a war. They can destroy the planet to stop this thing. But like, maybe give me a line. It's a genetic blueprint of this. Blah 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 blah. Right? Just give me a reason that we need to not let the bug have it. Apparently, in the again another boring piece of trivia. Apparently, this was lost in the edit, and it was meant to be a bit more convoluted. But they simplified it and made it not make a lot of sense. Largely, I think, because the initial idea was like it's a thing that's going to stop this war between these things, and the bugs don't want to stop the war. And then you're kind of into like the Galactic Trade Federation sort of space, and it's like, well, maybe it's not too bad a decision to take the trade routes out of this movie. Do you see what I mean? I think that sometimes the galactic politics, which are happening off screen, maybe need to just not also like derail the movie.
You didn't show us the Senate scenes. Oh, no. Boo. We want to see the Senate. Yeah. We want to see legislation. Sexy.
It's hard to say that that's like the wrong decision to make.
Because there's I think there's the Arquillian. That's the warship, isn't it? The Arquillian. Again, who could fucking care? But the Arquillians, and to save us getting emails about this, there's the...
Who's emailing us about pronunciation of the Men in Black characters?
You
mispronounced Vincent D'Onofrio earlier, Sam. I think that ship has sailed.
Yes, probably, and I think it's something to do. Anyway, there's another race that's been removed from this movie that they were at war with, and blah blah blah.
It was a truce. The bug interrupts like the handover, the truce handover.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think actually that probably works better than in the movie, doesn't it? Because if he gets the galaxy and it doesn't matter what it is, and in the end we get a cool little reveal about what it is, then all shit's going to go down.
It works because it's not the Da Vinci Code. The movie isn't solving the mystery.
Yes.
The movie is like, it's a chase. This movie is a protracted chase scene. In a good way.
And everyone's got clear motivation, and
it's a buddy cop movie, which I think works really, really well. I think Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith have a great back and forth. I think Will Smith is kind of like still this early Will Smith where he's quite cool. Like, I think in some later movies, maybe he's a lot less like, especially this later Men in Black movies, he's a lot more self-assured and a lot more like, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to start a whole race thing. He's a lot more white in a lot of his later movies. Culturally, I think there's a certain argument to be made that early Will Smith, is more reflective of his origins and his upbringing and the African American rap culture that he grew up in, and that is still present in the early parts of this movie. He's using terms that white guys aren't going to use in movies in 1997, and speaking in a certain way and dressing in a certain way, which obviously we kind of abandoned in pursuit of, because it's the Men in Black and all of that. But it's kind of nice to see this early Will Smith.
Yeah, he's doing really well, isn't he? He's fun, he's engaging, he's like, and also I think because he's the audience's analog, when we get introduced to the whole world, this is the other part of this movie that I I loved as a kid because I was not like into aliens necessarily, but there's a certain thing of like secret conspiracies and cabals and the government knows everything, and like how that when they're saying, oh yeah,
The world isn't as boring as you think it is.
yeah, we were there at what, Roswell, and there's a DH picture, by like half a wrinkle in his head that you can tell the difference of Tommy Lee Jones greeting them, and then Elvis is fine, he's doing well, like and all of the little like alien conspiracy things that they just drop into this movie. That's really light. It's not overdone. Like the World Fair buildings being alien spaceships, stuff like that. Like just more of it, please.
It's
like
quite an assured way of putting you down in a world where aliens exist, and you're just there. You're in it. A really favourite scene for me is the Tony Shalhoub scene. They go back to this well in the sequels. I think I've only actually seen the second one, but Tony Shalhoub is in that, and they shoot his head off again.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
But like that scene in this movie where, and again, it's Tommy Lee Jones is, I think, perfect for this role because he's playing it so straight. Like it's so straight. Tommy Lee Jones is in a movie where he's the hard-nosed cop, and the fact that they're aliens and things is irrelevant. He's just like playing that role. And he says, I'll shoot you in the head if you don't tell me what I want to know. And he shoots him, and nobody is more shaken than Will Smith, who immediately draws his gun and says, put that down, you're under arrest, you just murdered someone in front of my face. And it's played really, really well in universe. We don't get loads of explanations. It's not like Tony Shalhoub is and he can grow back his head. We see it. We see it happen. We move on. Like Tommy Lee Jones says, you fucking get out of town, mate. This. I'm the sheriff of this town. There's an Old West sort of vibe to the way that Tommy Lee Jones acts in this movie, and it just plays really well. Like the whole thing just plays really, really solidly. Yeah,
and we get to see that in the like Men in Black base as well. Some other details that I love is when he first walks in, and there's this fan, and this guy just sat there reading a newspaper, like. Nothing. I just think like what lovely crafting, like what a lovely set design, and they just choose to just have this one guy there and then they go in the lift and it reveals. But we get to see this array of aliens, like some of them are just horrible. Don't go near him. He's horrible. Be careful. And like they're all pally and like, hey, how you doing, buddy? Like still aliening, great stuff. Like all of this. And then we get to see on the screen, and there's like politicians that are aliens, and there's but my 5th grade teacher, I knew there was something wrong with her, stuff like that. Like it's just peppered throughout of just again really tight, clever writing, throwaway jokes that are there to give you that kind of world building almost.
It's funny, and we get just enough of the Men in Black building and the Men in Black sort of thing as well. It's not like we don't see the whole training montage with Will Smith. It's just he puts a suit on and now he's a Man in Black. You get Rip Torn, and that's kind of it for the Men in Black. And it's like, perfect. That's exactly what I need. Rip Torn is, he's the CIA director, and that's fine. Or, not CIA, but like the Men in Black director, and that's fine. He's funny.
Yeah.
I do
like the we've got the best of the best of the best, and again throwaway comedy things, him dragging the like stuff like that. It's just so stupid and silly.
It's slobs versus snobs as well to a certain extent.
Like you've got these,
and that's always good, isn't it? It's always like, oh, look at all these stuck-up fucking white guys in their military uniforms, and here's Will Smith, who's cool because it's 1997 and we've all watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Independence Day and Bad Boys, what you gonna do? We've all seen all of that, right? And he's cool.
And he shot the girl. He spends the whole time just looking around going, yeah, nope, and then and he shoot. What's she reading quantum physics? Which is a
really funny, really stupid scene.
Yeah. But it works, and that's what the tone is going for, and that's why this movie's popping. Let's talk about probably another thing that's not quite popping, And I don't like to say it, but Linda Fiorentino, what are you doing in this movie? Like, what?
It's hard to know how much of this was just really badly written. Like, how much of this is, can this guy write women? And if you've seen The Wild Wild West, probably not. And how much of it is like Linda Fiorentino, who didn't have like a massively astounding career, apparently was a real piece of shit to work with. I don't know how true that is, but it's been reported.
Well, I'm always slightly worried about that because that does seem to me like she was a woman who wasn't up for being abused by Harvey Weinstein type of thing. Like that seems to come up quite a lot, totally. You know. Yeah, but yeah, certainly she's not. She doesn't return, does she? Does she?
The only other thing I think I've seen her in is Dogma, which we also watched for the podcast. Talking of Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
No. So, but yeah, I think she's okay in some scenes. I think some of the morgue scenes are really funny. I like how we meet her really early on in the movie, and then she gets neuralized. That's kind of like a nice, like, again, it could be reshoot, whatever, but it's just nice to have her. It's just nice to have her in the movie from the beginning. I like the bit at the end when Vincent D'Onofrio's under the bench, and she's quite obviously trying to get Will Smith to look under the thing, and the scene goes on forever, and that's kind of to the benefit of it. And Will Smith, being a man, just does not understand at all what is happening.
It's like, oh, yeah, like it is funny.
And again, maybe in this scene again, like, there's a little bit of restraint from the director, and a part of the reason it's such a family-friendly movie is because it's really easy to make a fucking blowjob joke in this scene. And they kind of do, but don't really lean into it, you know?
Yeah. It's always hinting, isn't it? It is. I think you might be right in terms of her being underwritten, just because that's.
She's got nothing to do in this movie. Like, she's there at the end for no reason. Yeah. Like, literally no plot relevant reason why she has to.
And she does shoot. She does shoot one of the things, which is like the classic men writing women thing of
put her down, you bitch.
We're gonna give the character one thing to do at the end, one thing, and that's going to justify her having absolutely no role whatsoever throughout the rest of the movie. So maybe it's the right, but I do think her performance is a little bit restrained. I kind of wanted a bit more from her.
Some characterization would have been nice.
A bit more emotion, and she's like...
I tell you what she needs. You need to establish, like, early on, that she's like a Mulder and Scully, like, conspiracy theorist, that she thinks aliens exist.
Excellent, Paul.
You establish that. You have a scene with David Cross. The body comes in, and he says, "What? Is it aliens again, you dumb bitch?" Or
God,
something.
You're a fucking genius,
and she's
Dave.
like, "Hey, listen, Roswell, 1950, whatever, like... You know, we have not been told the truth," and maybe establish that she's a bit like into it, you know?
She's got a sense for it.
And then she's into it. And then when she meets Will Smith the first time, and it's like, oh my God, I was right. I was totally right. And then she gets neuralized. And that's funny. Number one, it's hilarious. And it's like, back to work. And then when she comes back later on in the movie, you already have this character arc established. And the movie kind of does that. But it doesn't make it silly enough. She's like, "There's something wrong with this autopsy. I'm very proper." And then, boop, neuralized. And then she's out of the movie for 40 minutes or however long it is. And I just think you establish that. And then it's suddenly like Will Smith, who's a guy who's suddenly confronted with the fact that aliens exist. And she's like, "Yeah, of course they exist. I knew this the whole time." You know?
Well done. Absolutely well done. That is such a good pull. And I think that would make such an improvement to this character, because it would give her an interest and a motivation. She wants to find out the truth, and what else is she doing here other than just being dragged along?
Have her be in the movie. You basically make the end of the movie be a thing where two people need to resolve it, which you kind of do. But Kay needs to get eaten by the bug at the end of the second act, or early in the third act, so that Will Smith and Linda Fiorentino can resolve the movie. And then Kay busts out and he shoots the thing. They throw the gun into the bug and Kay shoots out of the bug, and then it's like, "You miss me, baby," smokes a cigarette or whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
But then both of our other main leads have something to do and some agency, because she has no agency in this movie whatsoever. She
No.
literally gets damseled and kidnapped by the bug, and that's her entire contribution to the movie. And it feels like a studio note of, hey, why are there no women in this movie?
Where were you in 1997 as Ed Solomon is writing this, Dave? Because that is such a good fix for this character, and I think I'd like to see that movie. I'd like to see her.
It's the
And it
one
also,
we were talking about how this. I think this is a good movie, but not a great movie, and I think that's kind of the reason, is that there's too much of her for it to be like a throwaway character, and not enough of it for her to be an actual character.
it's a loose thread, isn't it? It's a loose thread, I think, in what I think we're identifying as being a really, really tight 98-minute movie that's just on every other, all the other cylinders are firing, and it's just the one little bit that I think where we're not really getting kind of what
Exactly,
we want.
because ultimately you could replace this before. You could just have David Cross be the medical examiner, and like nothing in this movie changes. Like not
Yeah.
a single plot beat is different.
Yeah, very good.
I think in the
very
second
good.
one, I can't remember who the female star is. They did not invite this woman back. In the second one, like the whole plot revolves around the female lead, and she's sort of like integral. She's the MacGuffin, and that makes it. And so they did learn a lesson. Not that that second movie's worth a damn, but they did learn a lesson in terms of like, actually maybe let's integrate our female lead into the plot a little.
Yeah, Lara Flynn Boyle, I think, is Johnny Knoxville's in it.
Johnny Knoxville is in it. He has several heads, like a little head that's nasty.
I don't know if I've ever seen this. I must have done in 2002.
It's-
There's no way that I
It's
was that
trash, Sam.
discerning.
It's 88 minutes, and they could only get it to like 79 or 81 minutes. Like they literally couldn't pad the movie out anymore. So they filmed the short with some of the worms. There's a short with the worms at the end of the movie to pad the
Holy
runtime.
Fucking
That's how
hell,
much they phoned it in.
That is amazing. Yeah, it is. It's 88 minutes and they with padding. And then there's Men in Black 3, which came out in 2012. Good Lord. And then Men in Black International.
That's
Which
the one
came
with
out-
Thor and
The other character, the other superhero person,
yeah, she's been in all sorts. She was in Veronica Mars. I can't remember her name. Tessa Thompson.
Tessa Thompson, Chris Hemsworth.
Yes, with Thor and Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, and
That's meant to be trash.
Interestingly, they're all getting longer as well. 110 minutes for two, for Men in Black 3, and 100.
Audiences want a 2-hour movie. Audiences want a 2-hour movie. I don't know what it is. But
Before we get,
and it's cheaper to film. Maybe like it's just cheaper to make a 100-minute movie than maybe it was 20 years ago
yeah,
or 27 years ago when this came out, or whatever horrifying fact you told me earlier.
it's a long time.
26 years.
Time has passed. Before we get to the end of the movie and we can finish off, do you remember watching the Men in Black TV series?
No, was it animated?
Wow. It's animated, 4 seasons, Saturday morning TV, 13 episodes, 53 episodes in total. Boy.
4 seasons of 13 episodes. What are we doing?
No.
What is this? The Netflix series?
I remember loving this. I remember absolutely loving this, and I'm just searching right now to see if it is on YouTube, and of course it is. Just fantastic. We can watch all of this on YouTube, and I would heartily recommend it. It looks like the Batman kind of style, that
Like
real,
the Batman animated series.
yeah, that real kind of nice Warner Brothers animation. So
Hand-drawn,
that's something to
maybe.
explore. Probably shit, actually, because that's how the past works.
Is there a good cartoon adaptation of a live action thing?
The real Ghostbusters one, not
Was
the
that
fake Ghost. Oh, have you not? Like, there's 2 Ghostbusters cartoons.
Before my
that came
time, I
out.
know about the Ghostbusters, Sam. I know about the Ghostbusters because the Ghostbusters is like a monkey and 4 guys, and then the real Ghostbusters is the real Ghostbusters. I know about this.
This is crazy shit. Absolutely batshit crazy. Like that they managed to get away with this. But it's. Yeah, so I would say that's pretty good. I really like the real Ghostbusters one. There's an episode which has and the Saints go marching. It's like it's in New Orleans or something. And we had it on VHS and we watched it about 400 times, and I can still remember it in my head. Like it's that implanted.
I'm I'm not sure. We should maybe do this. It could be a fun series for us. I'm not sure there is a good, like an objectively good from an adult point of view cartoon derived from a popular film. But I would be happy to be proved wrong. However, this is the Men in Black podcast.
Yeah, let's talk about the end of the movie. Basically, the bog's rampaging. It's got its thing. We've killed. The alien's got its face open. Is it's on Orion's, but like fucking just say the word, dude. And then he's in, what is it, like the World's Fair, 1960 something World's Fair, isn't it?
Tommy Lee Jones and the boss are at the Men in Black headquarters, and they've got this countdown like, oh, we're going to be blown up. No one seems particularly bothered, and they're basically trying to find, right, we've destroyed this bug's ship, so where's he going to go? He's going to have to find another ship. So they're looking for for registered ships that are outside of the Manhattan area. And Will Smith remembers, because he was asking Kay earlier, he remembers that the World's Fair was created. So he's like, do they still work? And they're like, oh shit, maybe they do. So that's then, we're going to go there. We get the big fucking guns, the really cool, like, tinfoil covered super soakers that the Men in Black use.
Oh, they're so cool. And the little mini one.
And the noises cricket they make as well.
Yeah. Like, fantastic, aren't they? Well done.
And we get the really cool driving scene as well, with Tommy Lee Jones, which driving on top of the tunnel, which is really funny. Again, like, there's got a lot of levity here with Will Smith kind of rolling around the bottom of this car. I think it's a really good stunt. Like, I imagine they spent quite a lot on that rig to make it look pretty good, but it's just like
and
Tommy Lee Jones
weaving in and out, and Tommy Lee Jones is singing with his
falling around,
his hair upside down. Like, it is fucking great. I just love this movie. I love the fun of this movie. We then get to like beast form, like at a final form of
which
the bug.
Is just okay.
Interesting. So I think there was originally they were going to go for a real, like, a suit. No, an animatronic alien basically, and Rick Baker, obviously, like the big dude who is in the process of losing his entire livelihood. As this movie and others come out, is like, yeah, it's fine, and then I think it's literally like days before they were due to shoot this scene, and it was kind of, the movie was going to end in like basically a big conversation between the bug and Will Smith and say, hey, you better leave, and he says, no, but all right, and then goes, and they basically just said, no, we need, Seinfeld wanted a big action scene. And I think it's such a right choice, because you kind of need to end the movie. This beast is so repellent. He needs to die. Like, there's no other way around it. And so they, within days, basically phoned him up and said, yeah, we've changed the script. And so all the things that we want it to do now, your creature can't do, because, it won't articulate in those ways. And we get Industrial Light and Magic. And we earlier referenced this, and I think it really is like, this is one of those transition movies like Jurassic Park, where they were like, okay, I think we can get a computer to do it though, and it's going to look great. And there was lots
of... Obviously, they didn't really know what they were doing. There's only one big stunt where they interact. The bug interacts with Will Smith, like swats him away. Pushes him away. And it's really clever, because it's an okay fight, and it's like entertaining enough, and you've got Will Smith like crushing cockroaches, and I think the CGI looks okay, largely because of how little it is interacting with the real environment around it. Because obviously they just didn't have, you don't have 25 guys you can get into a room who know exactly what it's going to look like on the computer and exactly what to do and how to stage it. I think it holds up reasonably well because of how reserved it is,
Yeah, I think so, and I think the fight is good. I mean, it does. We certainly like have the 1997ness of it all, which I think does struggle a little bit, doesn't it? In terms of being able to like really sell it. But I think generally it works. It works well, and I think it's a pretty well constructed battle, between the creature, and as we say, it'd be good to have a bit more from Fiorentino, but I don't think it detracts because of how fun and how well they do it with Tommy Lee Jones. Like him getting eaten, and again they're all covered in slime. Eat me, and then he does, and it's like, even now I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's gonna happen? And then you see him inside, and he's got this horrible gooey shit everywhere, and it's
horrible. I did feel a little bit like, and it gets because I've seen it before, I think, and not in a long time. I did feel a lot of this fight was right. So when's Tommy Lee Jones gonna shoot this thing from the inside? Like when's that gonna happen? Like the second he gets eaten. And again, maybe, but you wouldn't be thinking that obviously when you first saw it. But that does not hold up to repeated viewings because it feels like a lot of fluff, basically, to build up to the eventual sliming of this monster exploding and 400 gallons of slime hitting Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith.
It's a great practical fact, isn't it? Of just
the way that they're both having to wipe it off their eyes, I think, is just like in Ghostbusters, where with the marshmallow, it's kind of like it really conveys the disgusting. You just having to physically pull slime off your eyeballs.
If someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. Yeah, exactly.
But it's a solid movie. We get to again, we sort of neuralize Kay at the end.
Well, that's like we haven't really talked about it, isn't it? That's his arc, isn't it? Is that he?
You mentioned at the beginning about how it sort of goes from ends in the same way it begins.
Yeah, and that it's that you if you join the Men in Black, you have to give up your life, and we get I like the scene with Will Smith on the little orb thing that burns his fingerprints off, and you will disappear, you will no longer exist. We hear from Rip Torn and all of this stuff. Like, it's all kind of leading to this point, isn't it? Is that Kay then gets to get his life back, and he goes back to
work
his
in the
wife.
post office, as we find out in the second one.
Is that what he's doing? I don't know. God, it's depressing.
Well, I think we get the.
Do they re-recruit him?
Yeah, obviously, the whole second movie is like. The second movie is basically like, we can't do this without Tommy Lee Jones, which is absolutely true. I think at the start of that movie is because obviously Linda Fiorentino isn't invited back, so she's neuralized off screen.
What happened to that?
Between
that other woman? Who?
I think there's a line. I think there's a line where Rip Torn is basically like, "Oh, you've neuralized all the last 6 of your partners," because apparently that's something you can do when you're the senior partner. In the beginning of Men in Black 2. It's Will Smith and Patrick Warburton. Who you Google while I'm talking, you'll recognise.
I know who he is. Yeah, he was in Family Guy. Yeah,
Family Guy.
Pretty sure Patrick Warburton was the voice of the guy in Family Guy. Anyway, he played.
Anyway, Patrick Warburton's the other guy, and at the beginning of the movie, they have a bit of a wobble, and then Will Smith neuralizes him because he's not up to the job, and we're told that he neuralized Linda Fiorentino as well, and it's kind of like that's fine, but it's not like we've got to get Kay back into the picture because I think that's the takeaway from this movie is that's the relationship which works, is that rapport. But I mean, this isn't about the second movie, but it kind of is the flaw of it, and it kind of comes out of nowhere in this movie. Rather than we're going to go on and have lots of adventures because obviously they had no idea this would be popular enough to make a sequel. They want to sort of hang a bow on it and have Will Smith after 12 hours on the job. He's like, "You're the boss now, boss."
Yeah, it made 500 million off a 90 million 589 million off a 90 million budget, and just saying, wow, that's good money, isn't it? That's
it's
good money. Unfortunately,
it was really popular because it was fun and light and silly,
and slightly overshadowed by another movie that came out in 1997. That's right, Jurassic Park: Lost World, which was second place. Men in Black 3, obviously. Titanic.
Is Lost World the second one or the third one?
Second one, it's crap.
Ooh.
Third one, all right, actually all right. So I just think
I think you need to shut your mouth.
No, we watched it relatively recently. We did all of them, and I think it's not too bad.
You're tired
Anyway.
from driving, Sam. You don't understand. It's not great.
I'm tired from driving. I think, have got to the end of this movie. I just think this is an absolute classic. I think it's classic 90s. I think it's classic Will Smith. It's classic action sci-fi. It's disgusting. It's kind of brutal, and it's funny, and there is so much to enjoy in this movie, and it's one of the ones that I'll just come back to. I could watch it 5 times in a row probably and just be like, yep, great, this is fantastic. Sign me up. And, in fact, nebulize me, or it's not nebulize, is it?
Not
That's something
nebulize,
else.
you know.
Neuralize?
Neuralize. Like neuromancer.
Right, neuralize me, so we can just enjoy this movie all over again. That's my hot take.
I don't necessarily like... I'm not going to tell you this is a shit movie. It's really not. I think this is really good. I just think that there are problems with it. It's not a perfect movie.
Yeah.
You're playing the outro music over my wrap-up.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were wrapping up. That's fine. Anyway, Dave, we all know what you think. Well, I can pause it if you want. Do you want to pause it?
No, you're going to aggressively get us out of this podcast so that I don't disagree with you.
No, right, carry on. I'll start again.
I just think that, like, we all have our different movies which are, like, close to our hearts, and mine are certainly more stupid than this movie. I defended Wild Wild West in the early part of this episode, so obviously I don't know what I'm talking about.
I mean, there's not enough teen love angst in this, and I think that's probably what's missing for you. You know, maybe we need
an actual romantic plotline in this movie would have been something.
Or an actor was in The Breakfast Club. That seems to be another way of...
Yeah, that would have ticked the box. The box, you know?
Yeah.
Get Emilio Estevez in this. He's not a good actor, but get Emilio Estevez in this.
Let's get him in there so we can shoot his fucking head off.
Ooh. Last thing, Sam. People who you think are aliens. Right, go. Top 5. 5 people. 5 world people you think are aliens. As of this year.
Top 5. That's a lot of pressure. To think of anyone, literally a single person that I could mention. Stallone. I think Stallone.
Stallone could be an alien. Yep. And his machine body is breaking down. Is
he not an alien in this film as well? Is that the joke? I can't remember.
I think there is a joke in this. The one I was thinking of was a Dennis Rodman thing, which, again, watch a video of Dennis Rodman now, still an alien. Just like in 1997, except he's not playing basketball anymore.
Yeah. He's in North Korea? Is that what
he?
Doing? I think Dennis Rodman's...
Could that possibly be right? No.
Dennis Rodman, North Korea. I'm pretty sure he's... Isn't that what he's doing? Yeah, it is. It is. He's friends with Kim Jong-un. So...
What?
Google that.
That's going to be my bedtime reading. I was going to say Donald Trump. Donald Trump seems like really high on the list of people who are aliens.
I think that would be a little bit too obvious for an alien. I think the aliens would be like, they're gonna find us out. You know, like Kang and Kudos. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's probably where we're at. But yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to aggressively start sounding you out now, Dave, with the impending intro music. But maybe we could spam this joke a bit more. You know. Hey, welcome to the Imaginary Movie Podcast, the podcast where we talk about Men in Black because it's a great... Hey, welcome to the Imaginary Movie Podcast, the podcast where we talk about Men in Black, our favourite 90s. Hi, my name's Sam. Welcome to the Imaginary Movie Podcast. It's like the Simpsons rate joke. It's funny until it's not. And then, hey, my name's Sam, and welcome to the Imaginary Movie Podcast, the podcast where we talk about Men in Black. And it's funny again. Nice.
Comedy.